everyone, it's Jen Thoden with YourColorStyle.com, and today I have a very special guest. Her name is Katie Emery, and she is the founder of KatieGoesPlatinum.com. Katie helps women confidently ditch the dye and rock their natural gray hair at every stage and at any age. Katie, welcome, and thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me today.
Oh, thanks for having me. I'm really excited.
So I love your story. And I know that a lot of women and maybe men as well that are watching and listening to this are going to really want to hear what you have to say. For everyone that's watching, Katie has a beautiful story, and with going gray. And I would like you, Katie, to share with us, your story and how Katie Goes Platinum came about.
Okay, thanks. Whoops, sorry. I'll share my gray hair story first, if you don't mind, and then how I founded it. But so I was born. I'm from an Irish American British background, and so I had naturally almost black hair and pale skin my whole life, and I kind of took pride in that because I grew up in a town that was mainly Dutch and Polish, so everybody had blonde hair, and so you kind of stood out if you had dark hair, and so I was very proud of having my dark hair. And then when I turned 16, my hair started turning gray, and that's not unusual.
16.
Everybody seems to think that gray hair is only for elderly people, but it's not true. It's just genetics. So Some people go gray starting as early as 11, and I know people who found their gray in their kids' hair at 4. So,
wow.
So for me, it was 16, and I probably started dyeing it at about dyeing it to cover. I dyed it for fun, like everybody does in college,
Sure.
But then I started dyeing it probably to cover the gray. By about 25, I was covering it mainly, covering the gray. It was my main goal in dyeing. And so I did that for over 25 years. And then what happened was I had a really bad year in 2015. My older son, well, first my husband got laid off. And that stunk because he works in the entertainment industry. And as we know, if you're in your 50s in the entertainment industry, your career is kind of over. I mean, if you get laid off, it's hard to start over again. So that happened. And then a month later, our older son had he had this series of seizures that came out of nowhere. And actually, if my husband hadn't been laid off and been home with him, he would have died. They told us later. So he was sick in the ICU for about 6 days, and for probably 4 of those days, we didn't know if he was going to recover, either if he was going to pass away or if he was going to be mentally, brain damaged for the rest of his life. So those two things were just so stressful, as you can imagine. And then our younger son got diagnosed with autism on top of all of that. So basically 2015 was just a bad year, and it took me probably about 2 years to start to feel like myself again after that. Like a lot of us, when you go through a traumatic experience, you have like brain fog where you can't concentrate and you can't come up with creative ideas. I felt like almost like you have Alzheimer's, like you can't remember things. And so I went through that for about 1.5 years or 2 years, finally started coming out of it. And my big epiphany was I dropped my older son off to Boy Scout camp in San Diego. And I had 2.5 to, depending on traffic, 2.5 to 5 hour drive back. And it was a beautiful day, and I had the windows down, and I was listening to Jen Sincero's book, You Are a Badass at Making Money.
Yeah.
And because I part of the stress too, besides all the emotional stuff, was the money. Like I was the only one making money, and it wasn't enough. So I started listening to her story, and she just resonated with me. I think we've talked about her before, but she's not like a typical money guru. She really talks about feelings and emotions. And I realized I was letting a lot of things hold me back. And so I listened to the whole audiobook. I even stopped just to listen to it before I got home. And anyway, it just changed my whole life. She talked about blogging as a possibility. And I started thinking, well, how can I blog? Nothing that I wanted to blog about seemed interesting. So I kind of was dithering. And in the meantime, on top of everything else, I was I think I was 49, 48. I was getting sick of dyeing my hair. Mm-hmm. I was going through some issues with my hair where it was burning when I would get my hair dyed. I had itching and burning. And I thought about going gray, and I got some really negative pushback from my salon owner, and kept stalling. And finally I decided I'm going for it. And then when I was researching information about going gray joyfully and being excited about it, I couldn't find anything. Everything was
Yeah.
negative. How to cover your gray, or how not to look old, and or how to go gray gracefully. In other words, not to be like rebellious. It's like everybody has to be conformist, and I didn't
Right.
feel like that. So that's why I started the blog, and it took off immediately. Like within
Right.
3 months, I had a following, so that was nice.
And I can, there are so many parts about your story that I resonate with. And, you know, I like to back up a little bit. And that moment where it took you said it took you about 2 years to start to kind of feel like yourself again. Um, do you, after you finally decided to grow your hair out and you look back at that time, do you feel more like yourself now than when you were dyeing your hair, or do you feel like dyeing your hair was just kind of part of your thing and you were kind of forced to grow your hair out?
No, it was funny is I don't think I felt like myself again until I started growing my hair out. Like literally the day I decided to stop dyeing again, I
Yeah.
had I had bought, like, I'd been going to save money. I'd been going to the salon, and then between visits using box dye color, which as we know isn't as beautiful as the salon color,
Mm-hmm.
but it's definitely cheaper. It's $8 as opposed to 150. And so I'd it had been about 4 weeks since my last color, and I'd had a negative experience, with that. And
Yeah.
then in terms of the attitude, and then I bought a box of like Clairol or something like that, and I kept looking at it. I was like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to go in my bathroom and make a mess, and it never looks right when I do it. I'm not gifted that way, and the chemicals and the burning, and I was like, what am I doing? I was just sick of it, and
Yeah.
so that day it seems so weird. And when you talk to people who haven't gone through it, or maybe people who aren't women, they don't realize how much pressure is put on us by society to conform and look a certain way. And I
Right.
don't think I realized how conformist I was being, because it's such a big freaking deal to decide not to dye your hair anymore. But I literally felt liberated that night, and for probably the first whole year, felt like every day it was exciting. You know what I mean? It was just a
It sounds
thrill.
like to me like it's almost like you freed yourself. You gave yourself permission to
Yeah.
be you, amazingly you, versus trying to be what you thought was you, but really just trying to be what everybody else is going to, make everybody else happy, essentially.
Right. That's true. It's like I felt
Yeah.
like me for the first time in years. And sometimes people say like, well, then you should also give up the makeup, but
Yeah.
that's really you. But really me, authentic Katie, likes to wear makeup. Authentic Katie doesn't like being forced to color her hair.
Right.
If it was still fun to color my hair, that would be different. But it wasn't. It was like a chore that I felt like I had to do, or I might lose my job, or people wouldn't find me attractive, or
Right.
my kids would think I was old, or whatever. So
Right. Now you had
getting
said
rid of that felt
something.
great.
No, yeah, and you had said something. So last time we talked, and I love this because um, I come across this a lot with women who are still coloring their hair, but they want to go gray, or there are health reasons that they can't color their hair, or kind of like what you went through. Suddenly, their body's reacting differently to the dye, and it doesn't feel good anymore. And so, for all these reasons,
Yeah.
they want to stop coloring their hair, and they're so worried about looking older when they grow that gray out. And what would you say to those women?
I'd say something. I've been reading this phrase from other gray hair advocates, if you want to use that term,
Mm-hmm.
and it's true. Gray is just a color. You have to change your mindset and think of it not as something that only elderly ladies have, because for the past 100 years, since I don't know the exact date when hair dye was really popular and when it was being pushed by advertisers, but I think it's definitely at least since the 30s
Mm-hmm.
that people have really been pushing, and especially in the 50s and 60s was when they really got into the home hair color kits and pushing people to color. So if you think about it, most of us have never grown up with mothers and grandmothers who didn't color their hair. Like my grandma colored her hair till she was probably 90, and my mom until recently was coloring her hair. So we've got a whole 2 generations of women ahead of us that never showed their true hair color. So when we think of people looking older with gray hair, it's because only the elderly ladies were letting their hair be gray. And I think they also came from that generation that felt like if you were over 40, you had to cut your hair short.
Yeah.
Or even after you got married, that you had to cut your hair short. That was a
Yeah.
thing. So I didn't want to go from having long, dark hair to having like no offense to my grandma, rest in peace, but I didn't want to have, she would go to the salon once a week to have her hair washed and set in those like little grandma
Yeah.
curls. And maybe my great grandma had the bluing put on, they would do that to make their hair
Yeah.
more white, but it would come out a little blue. So I think it's all a mindset. And once you get past that and you think like, I don't have to change my style of my haircut or my length. Like I have one of my most popular posts is called How to Go Gray with Long Hair, because for some odd reason, once you go gray, let me back up for a second. When you go gray, you find out there's all these expectations put on you. So, okay, first you can't go gray. Then, okay, you can go gray, but then you must cut your hair short. Like, well, who says? I don't look good in short hair. I don't feel like myself in short hair. So I chose not to do that. Well, women, you can't have gray hair in a ponytail or in braids. That looks like childish. Well, you know what? I think gray braids or ponytails are beautiful. Like I have no skill with gray braids. I can't do a braid to save my life except for just the standard Pippi Longstocking braids. But, I think we have to get rid of all these ideas that you can't do these things. You can't murder anybody. That's about it.
Well, I love your hair. I love that. I mean, it's beautiful, and I'm very glad you grew it out.
Thank you.
There are, I know that stage of the line growing out, and I've seen some of your photos out on Instagram and on your site and your blog, with that, when you documented your hair growing out. And I think it was very brave and also just very, I think, helpful, to let other women know that this is normal,
Yeah.
and there is a little bit of a, a transition to go
Right.
so that you can get to your hair all one color again. And but what I've found, like with the ladies in my Facebook group, for example, the ones that are growing their hair out, when they finally get to a point where they're mostly their natural color, I think they look better. I think they look younger. They look more vibrant. And I think it's just because they're back to what they're supposed to be. And it's not that you can't color your hair and not look young. It's just your hair lightened, it changed, and it's part of your overall harmony and chemistry and coloring. To hide it, I think it's a shame.
I think so too. And one thing that we've all noticed among our gray hair community, which we call the Silver Sisters, is what gray haired women call each other, but is that almost everybody looks younger when they do their natural hair color, because for two reasons. One is it suits your natural complexion. So everybody thinks like, well, I have olive skin, so I can't go gray, or I have whatever color skin, or I have this color eyebrow. Well, that doesn't matter, because it seems like Mother Nature knows what she's doing. Like we should trust her.
Yes.
And I haven't seen one case of a person who didn't look better with their natural hair than they did with their dyed hair. I have one of my most popular posts on my blog is gray hair before and after pictures. And I dare people to find one lady on there who doesn't look better with her gray hair than she did with her colored hair.
I so agree, 100%. And it's so much more interesting too. In fact, it's funny. I mean, now it's a trend, right?
Right.
You have young women dyeing their hair silver and gray because it's something that they can't have. And it's an interesting shift of the mindset of in style and fashion right now, where people want what they can't have, and they're actually dyeing their hair silver and gray as a trend.
I know. Who would have guessed? And what's so nice about gray hair is everybody's pattern is different. So some people have, still dark hair, and then it's mainly gray in the back, or some people have all black hair in the back and only gray in the front. For me, I don't know if you can see, my hair is all black and dark underneath.
Yeah. It's like almost,
and then silver
like the
on
sun
top.
lightened it almost. Yeah.
Yeah. And so
so pretty.
It's fun. Like I kind of sometimes wish that I was gifted at braiding, because then I think it'll be interesting to have it come back and then show the dark. But everybody's pattern is unique. Everybody's different. I mean, it's more fun than once you make up your mind to stop dyeing. It's almost like the what do they call it when something falls from your eyes? What's that saying about the blinders come off? Because all of a sudden you start looking at your pictures of yourself with your colored hair, and it looks fake. It doesn't look regular to you anymore. It's just interesting.
So let's talk a little bit about color and style. And for you, once you went gray and you're feeling more like yourself, did you find that you were wearing different things or different colors, or were you still wearing kind of the same as before?
Yeah, I I got my degree in art history. I got my master's in that. And I have to say, when you did art history in the 80s and 90s, that meant you just were consigned to a black wardrobe for life. So I spent years being an artsy girl with the black clothes. And I only started to break out of that maybe 10 years ago. But I still am more comfortable, dark clothing. But
Okay.
I realized when I was a kid in the 80s, I had my colors done by that Color
Mm-hmm.
Seasons
Yeah.
thing that was popular back then.
Yep.
And they said I was a winter or cool winter, which I think I probably still am. I'll have to discuss that with you. But but a lot of the colors they say that look good with gray hair are the colors that look good on me anyway. So I'd
Yes.
already had some of them, like a red. I do well in red, like a blue red.
Mm-hmm.
Jewel-like colors like sapphire blue, emerald green. I'm trying to wear more stripes.
I
And I
like
got
it.
this cool shirt from Bowden that has the colored sleeves.
I love Bowden. I
Yeah,
shop there all the time too.
I love them. So
They have little rainbow effects on the sleeves and the yeah.
yeah, and their clothes fit beautifully, But I am trying to wear more color. And what's interesting is I was never a person who wore beige or tan or any of those colors,
Mm-hmm.
but
That's
I
good.
started wearing them probably the past 10 years when my hair was still colored, because I think what happened was, as you dye your hair for years and years and years, it starts kind of bleaching your hair. It damages your hair. And for me, as a brunette, it was making my hair color too warm for me.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
so my hair would always have kind of a red coppery tint. It was
Mm-hmm.
impossible to get it as dark as my natural color. And so I started wearing autumn colors because those look good with that hair color. And now I can't wear them. If I wear, at least next to my face, the main thing is to be careful what you're putting next to your face. If I wear beige or tan next to my face, like all the color just drains out of my face.
Right.
I can't do it anymore. So.
Yeah. And so, yeah. So in your color style, you would be bright, cool, and probably still deep because you have so much depth in your hair coloring still. So those bright, cool jewel tones you just described are still on point. And so
Yeah.
excellent job on your colors.
Thank
Like,
you.
and the thing is that the very fact that you had said autumn, and for those who are listening, that would mean more warm colors, very earthy, deeper colors. And this is why I sometimes wish that women who are dominantly gray and are trying to keep their hair colored, they start to go that warm reddish tint, and often it's not compatible with what colors really would make them really stand out if they were just to get back to a more natural hair color that goes with their overall complexion. Because like you said, Mother Nature has it right. So you're not going to
Right.
have something so bizarre that doesn't go.
Right. No, nobody's born. I don't think anybody's born with hair color that doesn't look right on them. So of course, even as you get older, it's going to adjust.
Mm-hmm.
So,
So,
yeah.
all right. So three things. Three tips, I should say. What would you tell someone that they come to you and they want to grow their hair out? And what would be three things that you would tell them to help them get through that process?
Okay, I had to take notes because this is so important. Okay.
Awesome.
Okay. Okay. So, well, the first thing, just like we've been discussing, is don't be scared. Like, we're all so scared to go gray, but really it's liberating. I mean, one thing a lot of women find out is once you decide to ditch the dye, you start thinking about other things in your life that you're ready to change too.
Oh, I love that.
Because you start thinking, why did I believe? So we're all taught to believe that gray hair is going to make you look old, or you can never not color your hair. You won't get a job. Your husband won't love you, or whatever.
Right.
None of that stuff is true, you know. So what else do you believe that isn't true? It opens up this whole world of possibilities. So I think we need to ditch the fear of going gray and instead see it as a fun, exciting, empowering time. Or if it's not fun, there's ways to get around that. But it doesn't have to be scary or bad.
That is.
And
go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
there you go. Yeah.
No, I was just going to pile on to that statement. That is such a powerful statement that you just said, and I want to make sure people paid attention to what you just said.
Yeah.
The very fact that we are so afraid to do something different, whether it's grow our hair out, color it, right, or anything else in our life that we want to do that's different from what our norm has been and is, and it's all about our belief system and what we tell ourselves, the stories that we tell ourselves. And based on what you just said, I mean, I would challenge people who are listening to make sure that they're challenging the stories that they're telling themselves.
Yeah.
Oh, I could never go gray. Well, why? Well, what's the story you're telling yourself, and is it true? And most of
Right.
the time, it's not. It's what you've believed to be true up until this point, right?
Right. Yeah. There's so much fear built around it, which is sad. It shows you that things need to change, because we shouldn't be so terrified of going gray or getting older or whatever. And like I
Right.
said, going gray doesn't have everything to do with getting older. Some of us are older, and we need to stop worrying about that as much too.
Mm-hmm.
So
So yeah, but I love that. What else? Once you go gray, what else can I do? What else can
yeah, I
you
know.
do different? I love that. Opens
Yeah,
things up.
if you go on my blog and read the other women's stories, almost everybody says that. It starts making you question everything.
I
It's
love it.
interesting.
It really frees you. Mm-hmm.
It really does. And the second thing I would say, when you're going gray, it's important to have a support system. Like in my case, I was lucky because my husband's totally on board, and obviously you can say it all day long, like, well, I don't care what he thinks of my hair, but it's nice if your husband or your boyfriend or your significant other likes how you look. And so luckily he's always been very easygoing. He was excited and happy for me.
That's
So
wonderful.
that matters. My kids, it's interesting. My younger son has autism, and he doesn't like change. And so he was very concerned about me going gray, because
Mm-hmm.
like, mom has long dark hair. Like,
Right.
that's how mom's look. My mom looks like this. And so at first he had a little trouble with that, and he thought it meant I was dying because I was getting old rapidly. And I was like, no,
Oh, that's
that's my
sweet.
hair's always been gray and just been covering it, and it doesn't mean you're old. Now he's on board. But if you don't have a good support system, my friends are the kind of people I pick to be friends are not the kind of people that would give me hell for my hair color. But you'll be amazed when you see the letters I get from women to my blog. They have husbands who tell them, I don't want to sit across the table from an old hag
Oh,
when she decides to go gray. Or their friends will call them concerned and say, I'm not letting you go gray. You're going to look terrible. And they'll get really mean
oh,
remarks from friends and family and husbands and girlfriends and everybody. So first of all, I think if that happens to you, you have to really think about if you even want those kind of people in your life,
yeah,
because that's not good.
right.
Your friends should support you, unless you're a murderer. I think your friends should pretty much be happy with how you're living your life. So
I 100% agree. It is everything for any kind of goal in our lives that we want to do that we believe is going to make us happy or bring more joy into our world. It is so important to have people around you that want you to be happy.
right, you can't.
Yeah.
You either have to do it on your own, which is not easy, or you have to get rid of those kind of negative people and find your
Yeah.
own support system. So
It really
one thing I always
doesn't it make you kind of angry? Like why like if you have people around you that are telling you not to do something that you want to do, it's not about them.
No, it's usually it's their own fear, and then they're projecting
Yeah.
it onto you. And I
Yeah.
can try to be understanding, but I also have an Irish temper. So if somebody says something like that to me, like they're dead to me. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't know. So luckily, I think I'm a nice person, but people haven't been too mean. I had one person right at the beginning tell me, an elderly gentleman that I'm friends with, said, I don't like your hair that color. You need to go back to coloring it.
Oh,
And so I just said, oh, I like it this way. And I explained why I was doing it. And he's like, okay. It's kind of funny. Like I just thought it was funny that he felt okay to say that. But I decided not, instead of getting really angry, I thought, well, I'll just tell
yeah.
him.
Yeah.
But so if you don't have family or friends or a significant other that can support you, there's a whole world of online gray hair
Yes.
silver sisters who will support you. So
And you have a
I would tell
Facebook group,
people,
right?
yeah, I have a Facebook group called Silver Revolution,
Okay.
and it grew from 800 to 11,000 members in a very short time.
That's amazing.
It's great. And there's a lot of other gray hair groups out there, but I have to say I really love ours. It's very supportive. And we also really make sure that if anybody's not supportive, they're out, like no questions asked.
Yeah.
We're not here to listen to mean comments. So
Mm-hmm.
so you've got that. We also, I highly recommend people go on Instagram. I have my own Instagram account at Katie Goes Platinum. The Grombre account is amazing. A younger woman started that, and Martha, she's awesome. She features women every day who are going through the gray hair grow out. And she coined that
Lovely.
term Grombre, which kind of means as you're growing it out, it's the
Mm-hmm.
different shades that are going through your hair. And once you go on her place or my place or Silver Sisters International is another one, you'll start seeing all the other ladies that you might want to follow because they feature them. So that really makes a difference, because if you're not getting that support at home, you can do it if you have this online support. It helps.
That is awesome. And I know that there's a lot of my women in my community that are going to be very interested in looking at your group, because they've been having that need for community and support, just, because they don't want to feel like they're the oldest one in the group sometimes. And which isn't true at all.
Yeah.
But again, it's that mindset shift. And I think that having other people around you to support you and to help you feel more included is really, really important.
It does help. And what's so interesting is, like, in real life, I still don't have that many friends who are going gray. But one thing that's interesting that you'll find is once one person decides to go gray, it's almost like dominoes falling. Like the other people around them start thinking like, well, maybe I'll do that. So I've had maybe 5 or 6 women since I did this who told me that I inspired them to do it.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, that helps,
That's amazing.
And then they have somebody to go to for questions,
There's a woman in my Facebook group. After she had her colors done by us, she, we talked about would her colors change if she grew her gray out and all that kind of stuff. And for her, it seemed like not really. Yeah. And so she did, when we had the stay-at-home orders for the pandemic, she shaved her head. And
I think that's beautiful. So cool.
Like, yeah. I guess she just, everybody's a different personality, right? Some people want to they can't do it. I don't know if I could do it, to be honest with you. It was so brave. But she just was kind of like, you know what? I just want to go gray now. So she did, and it's stunning. It's just so beautiful.
I always think that's so cool. That was actually going to lead me to my third point, which is people think there's one right way to go gray, but there's not. It all depends on your temperament and your style, and like your own relation to your hair, because hair is very important to our sense of who we are. And like for me, I knew a few things about myself, which is I'm more comfortable in long hair. I was done with chemicals. Like the day I stopped dyeing my hair, I knew I didn't want any more chemicals on my head. Like I had done keratin treatments and some other things. I was like, except for shampoo and conditioner, and a few other products, I don't want any of those deep chemicals on my hair anymore. Mm-hmm. So I also knew my personality would not do well with going gray overnight. Like I knew I'd been a brunette for so long, and that was a big part of my identity. So if I'd done it overnight, I think it would have been a shock to the system. Because you can cut your hair really short, you can buzz it.
Yeah. You
can also go to the salon and have your hair gray blended, which has advantages and disadvantages.
Yeah.
But for me, none of those were going to work because I just knew I couldn't do it. So for some people, it seems very scary to grow out your gray, like the skunk stripe, and it keeps growing and growing. And I have to admit it does look crazy. Like when I look at pictures of myself from then, I think, wow, I really was brave to go out with my hair like that. But you start to see the beauty in it, and it also becomes like a fun science experiment. Like, how's it going to look next week? It's fun to document it. It's interesting to see, like, as the new growth came in, it was healthier. And if I compared it to the dyed ends felt like straw because it was so damaged. And my new hair is thicker and shinier. So, but some people don't want to do that, and I can't blame them. So I think if you want to buzz your hair, it's so cool. I think that if I had that personality, that would have been probably the route I would have gone.
Yeah.
Some people cut their hair short. Some people, if you cut your hair short, it took me 2 years to grow out my hair, and I still think I have a little dye on the ends. But if you want to do it quickly, buzzing obviously is instant. And if you want to do it a little longer than that, if you do a bob or a pixie cut, you could be done in 3 to 6 months.
Right.
For me, it's 2 years. And if you have really long hair, it could be longer. And one thing that confuses people is when you say, like, how long it took you to grow it out, it obviously depends on your length. Like, to grow it out to shoulder length took me 2 years.
Right.
If I'd wanted to grow it out to my waist, it would have taken a lot longer than that.
Yeah.
So there's not one right.
So what is your vision for Katie Goes Platinum? Where do you think this is going for you and for your business?
Well, it's crazy because with the pandemic, it's my blog was already doing really well. I was getting about 250,000 page views a month, and nice. All of a sudden it blew up to, I think by the end of this month, it'll be 410,000 because a lot of people have decided to go gray during this lockdown.
Yeah.
And I've actually had to hire some help because I can't do it all on my own. I've been a one-woman show up to this point. So I just hired a computer guy to do all my backups and support. Hired a lady to design my pins for Pinterest because I can't keep up with that.
Yep.
going to hire somebody to go through my email because I can't go through it by myself. So what I'd really like to do is have time to write a book, which I've never felt comfortable doing that, but people seem to like the blog, so I feel like a little more confident about that now. And
totally write a book. That'd be amazing.
yeah, I think it would be cool. And I'm in discussions with my friend Mandy Mae Cheatham about helping co-host her podcast, Going Gray in Tinseltown.
Oh,
Which
amazing.
is all about,
that's great.
She's an actress, and so she's, actresses in Hollywood have a whole different take on what it's like, because, there's a lot of prejudice against gray hair in Hollywood. So, and then the last thing I wanted to do, or it's not the last thing, but the biggest thing I'm working on right now, I just launched it this week, is a tool to help salons and all of us, because as you know, salons are hurting right now. I feel bad for them with what's going on. And this was already in the works, but what I did was I created a tool that's a gray hair friendly salon finder, because as we all know, some salons are not gray hair friendly. The second you walk in the door, if you have gray hair, they're trying to think about how to get you to color it.
Yeah.
And they don't, I've even had a list of salons on my page that were friendly to women with gray hair. And one salon asked me to take them off. They didn't want to be associated with gray hair, which I thought was so sad.
That's crazy. So
everybody else so far has been happy with it.
Right.
So we just revamped it and turned it into a directory, so salons can get in there and they can list themselves and advertise, I am supportive of gray hair, or even I offer services to help women go gray, because some people are happy to do the salon methods to blend their gray in. And so if you decide to do that, you need to find a salon who has experience, because there have been some disasters with people who don't know how to do it.
Yeah.
So it's really cool. So for any salons that are interested, I'm going to offer them 3 months of a free advertising.
Okay.
Because I thought that might help them once things get rolling. I'm getting so many page views. I think it will definitely bring them traffic. So I think
that's amazing. It's so interesting how an event in the world can change your business, and for sometimes not for the great, right? There are a lot of businesses that are hurting right now, and then the other businesses are thriving. And it's so interesting what people are doing during this time. And I didn't even think about it until this one woman had shaved her head. I'm like, oh, this is a really good time to explore change, right? You don't have as much. So a lot of people don't have as many eyes on them, and I know that shouldn't be the issue, but it is, right? We always are thinking about what other people see and think about us, even if we're told we shouldn't worry about that. And so, it's really interesting that people this is a great time to grow my hair out. I think it's awesome. And congratulations on the success of your business. I think it's pretty amazing. So where can people learn more about you?
Okay. Well, they can go to my blog, katiegoesplatinum.com. I have a Start Here page that will kind of guide them if they're interested in going gray, where to go. Okay. On my front page, I have a lot of information about various stages of hair, where you are, and what articles would help you. They can find out more about me there. I also have my Instagram, and that has pictures, like you said, from the beginning of my grow out through the whole process. And those are the two best places. I have a YouTube channel. I have to say, I'm not the best video maker on earth. I need to get better at it. And I have people want to see videos. They relate to video, and that's my next thing I need to really work on, is getting more comfortable on camera. One of my problems is I have a pug that wants to be on my lap the whole time, so he's in all my beauty videos. And so people seem to like that too.
That's life. That's just the way it is, right? Especially now when we're all filming from home.
Right.
A lot of people with their dogs, or they hear dogs in the background, like, so.
That's true. People like authenticity. They don't want you to be fake or too polished. And so I have to embrace that, because kind of in real life I'm a goofball, and that comes across sometimes when I'm trying to do my videos. And I guess I just have to embrace the goofball side.
Kind of perfect. Yeah. Video is great. It's a great way to connect with people in a different way. They get to know you a little bit better. And as you know, I do a lot of video. So, So Katie, this was so great. Thank you so much for joining me and having this conversation. I know that women and men as well are listening and watching right now and being inspired to really embrace their authenticity and to maybe grow their hair out too. So I hope that they check you out at katiegoesplatinum.com, and I'll leave the links that you had mentioned in the description below this video and on the blog post so you guys can check her out. Katie, thank you so much.
Great. Thank you. Thanks for having me.